Hello there, can you hear me?
Good morning.
Good morning, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
I can. I've just changed the display so that we can see both of us and get a nice recording. Happy Sunday morning.
Happy Sunday morning. I've got my tea. What do you have?
Yeah, I've got like my 3 cups of coffee ready, so it's yeah, it's my normal, still waking up. No, it's how have you been?
Good, thank you. Yeah, it's been a busy week, so I'm glad it's a quiet Sunday.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, I've sensed that you've had a really busy week because I've been pressuring you all week to come online and talk to me. So it's yeah, it's now you know what this series is all about. You've probably seen some of the earlier episodes. You know some of the people that have been in the early episodes, and I wanted to get a bit of your story as part of the. I love the background, by the way. Is that your hallway?
This is my husband's office,
Very
so I'm
nice.
at his desk. But yeah, this is our library behind us.
Okay. I've had to blur mine because I'm in the kitchen and it's a bit messy.
Very nice. Yeah. I like when people blur because then you get like them, but I don't like doing it for myself because when you move, it kind of your face doesn't move, and so it cuts a bit off of you, and I don't like that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, that's the beauty of having hair, you know, because I've got a clear outline. So it's anyway. So it's when did you get your cochlear implants, Sarah? Tell us.
Oh, it's I think about 13.5 years ago now that I got mine, and yeah, it'll be 14 years in September.
So what year? So what year was that?
2008, okay. I think. Yeah, yeah. You've had yours 20 years now, haven't you? Which is incredible.
The one on the left. It's been amazing, and I mean, I met you about 12 years ago, at like a function. And we just clicked straight away, you know, and it's every now and again our paths keep crossing. And one thing that I find absolutely fascinating is that whenever we're in the same room, there's always so much to catch up on, and we can do it at a speed because we can hear each other and we can, you know, we can communicate quite well, you know. So it's how's your little boy doing?
He's good. He's good. Yeah, he's downstairs playing Monopoly with his daddy.
Say that again?
He's downstairs playing Monopoly with his daddy.
Monopoly. I haven't played that for years. How old is he now?
He is 6. Yeah, he was 6 in September. So yeah, it's going really fast. I remember bringing him to one of the events that you and I crossed paths on, and he was a tiny little baby then.
I know. And he was in like a little carrier. Oh, yeah. So one thing that's always piqued my curiosity, especially with parents that have hearing children, is like, what has it been like what do you think it would have been like to be a mum without the hearing you currently have?
That's a really good question. My cochlear implant has enhanced my experience of motherhood so much, because I remember when he was tiny, I could hear the difference between him having fallen into a deep sleep and being ready to lay into his cot, or whether he was still a bit drowsy and I couldn't yet safely put him down. And so I think if I didn't have that hearing, then I would be using my eyes a lot more, I think, and, you know, feeling his chest and just being a bit more observant in that way. But I could just kind of listen with my cochlear implant and stuff. And I think also being able to hear what he's doing in the next room. He's constantly chattering away, and if I didn't have that, then I think I'd want to have him in my sight a bit more. So I think that's how it would be a bit different. Yeah.
Well, when you can't hear children, they're usually up to no good, aren't they?
So true. When they go quiet, that's when you need to worry.
Yeah, absolutely. They're either in some difficulty, or, you know, they've hurt themselves when they've not started crying yet, or they're up to something. And so it's I suppose the same is true for adults, you know, like when you're with somebody and they're in your house, or you share like a common space. It's reassuring to know that somebody's there, and somebody's, even if they're just making nonsense noise, you know. So it's I know that hearing loss is quite prevalent in your family, and you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to, but would you mind telling us a bit about that? I'm just
No,
curious.
not at all. Yeah, so I am in my immediate family. I'm one of 5, and mum and dad are both deaf.
Okay.
And so the deafness in our family through my mum's side is genetic. And so yeah, it's been passed down, started around my grandmother's sort of era, we think. And my dad is deaf because he was born prematurely. He was born 3 months early. And so he's profoundly deaf as well. And he uses a little bit of sign language to communicate. And then out of me and my 3, well, I've got 2 siblings. Out of us 3, my middle brother is hearing, so the deafness gene seems to have skipped him. And then my younger brother is severe to profoundly deaf, and he also has a cochlear implant, and my mum also has a cochlear implant. So out of 5 of us, there's 3 of us now with CIs.
Yeah, you know, my friend Frances, her family's got a very similar setup. So
Really?
I think you're the only 2 families that have multiple cochlear implant users, and you know, it must have made such a massive difference. I mean, it's now I know that you're quite passionate about coaching people with hearing loss, and also coaching people towards cochlear implantation if they feel it's good for them. But I also know, you told me this last time I met you, that you're quite passionate about demanding equal access and people's preference to languages and communication methods. Can you tell me a little bit about that? What does that actually, it sounds like quite a big area. It's
a broad thing, isn't it? So around the time that I got my cochlear implant in 2008, I just started working with deaf children as a deaf support worker. So I was going out into schools and homes and trying my best to be a good deaf role model for these families that I was working with and young people. And I was seeing so many of them being implanted and seeing the incredible progress they were making, that back then I only had 2 hearing aids, and I thought, oh, you know, maybe it's time for me to revisit having a cochlear implant. And that was what inspired me to get mine. But at the same time as all of that happening, I was working with young children who had been born into hearing families, and there was a real question mark over whether the parents should learn sign language in order to communicate with their children. And I always felt so passionately that, yes, why not? It doesn't impede the development of speech, and it can only give your baby an opportunity to communicate and say what they want or need a bit earlier than they might do with speech. And then lo and behold, a few years later into that role, the research came out that showed sign language didn't impede spoken development. And so I was like, yes, I've known it all along, and finally it's proven. And I can say to parents that that's the case. But I just feel that whatever mode of communication a child wants or needs, they should be entitled to use that, and parents should have the opportunity to go out there and learn. I don't think we have enough opportunities for parents to access sign language teaching in this country.
Absolutely. And you know, I mean, you described something there that I feel quite often, that you and I live and breathe this kind of way of hearing and communicating every day. And sometimes it takes several years for the research to come out that confirms what we've been saying all this time. Yeah, so we're visionaries, I guess. It's like,
yeah,
and we're quite vocal with it as well. So you called this, was it total communication that you called it?
Yeah. So when I was in that role as a deaf support worker, I was also coming across some of these deaf young people with additional needs or special educational needs, and that was the term they used when I was working in that field, in total communication. It means using gesture, body language, sign language, facial expressions, spoken language, you know, symbols, text, all of it. And I just think, why not? It all helps.
I mean, the thing is, we've all used cues anyway. Even hearing people sometimes use cues without actually realizing. For example, no. It's all very, it's all complementary, isn't it, to our understanding?
And if we're in the pub, you know, hearing people will go, what do you want? And, you know, or 1 or 2 across the room, and without knowing it, they're signing.
Or 3 or 4. No, it's yeah, it's I'm just looking at some notes here because, you know, it's I want to make sure that I cover everything today. So tell us a little bit about what you do for work and how your hearing actually helps you to do that.
So at the moment I'm working as a family worker for the county council, and in the early help sector, so supporting families and young people who are going through difficulties for whatever reason. Maybe there's a parental separation or something, and I've been in that role a year in 2 days time actually, so yeah, it's not been long, but I started it in the middle of this kind of pandemic that we're going through, and with the you know, established nature of remote working and communicating via video calls and things like that, I kind of jumped feet first into that, and that's something I wasn't used to doing. And with my cochlear implant, I'm able to hear people a lot better over video than I could before. And I've noticed also that I can cope a bit better with video calls when there's children screaming in the background. You know, that adds another level of difficulty to video calls. And but prior to that, I was working as a play therapist in primary schools and supporting children. And my cochlear implant helped me to hear children when they were playing, you know, because very often they'd be looking down at something, or they'd turn away and go and grab something from the other side of the room, and I could still hear them as they turned away. And I think if I didn't have my cochlear implant, I would be constantly tracking and following them around the room, and it would be a much more physical role. So yeah, it's just, I've found that my cochlear implant has kind of opened up doors for me that I might not have considered had I not had my CI. So yeah, it's definitely been good.
Absolutely, I hear this quite often, you know, that with, I mean, if you get even just minimal benefit with a cochlear implant compared to earlier, it does open extra doors for you.
I think it does, yeah.
And also the quality of life thing, because like you said, by doing your job, you're not following them around as much, and therefore you're not as exhausted, you're not as fatigued. You know, so it makes everything a little bit easier. Would you agree or disagree?
I think it makes everything a little bit easier. I think it's still exhausting communicating with people. I don't think we make enough of listening fatigue in, you know, the deaf world and things like that. And so it makes it a little bit easier, but it yeah, I'm still tired when I get to the end of the day. But,
me too.
And I remember back to the early days of cochlear implantation. I wonder if you would say the same, but learning to hear again. I hit the sheets every night and just crashed out in those early weeks and months. Were you the same?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We've covered this in a couple of earlier episodes as well, and that's one of the reasons why I'm a bit sad that this series is slowly coming to an end, because I've just really enjoyed hearing those stories, because it brings back my memories from 18, 19, 20 years ago when I was first starting this journey myself. Now, I know it's Sunday and you've got some family time to catch up on, but is there anything you'd like to ask or say while you've got this space and this 5 minutes of fame on this YouTube series?
Well, I don't think one question for you, Stuart, is you've been on like a 20-year journey with your cochlear implant. What's the most inspiring person or most incredible CI user you've met on that journey?
CI user, apart from you. No, I just think, well, the thing is, there's been so many, that's the thing. And you know, I've had the privilege of visiting many countries and meeting many CI users in many countries. So to single one out and say, you know, you're the one, I mean, I can't do that. But one thing that I did learn last week, and I got some sad news, basically my mentor, the person that mentored me into getting a cochlear implant in 1998, 1999, she died over Christmas.
Oh.
So that kind of like, it's, yeah, because she and some friends of hers really supported me by email before social media even existed. You know, it was just such a different way of communicating rather than all this over information that we get now, and misinformation sometimes. She inspired me to get the cochlear implant, and I suppose I'll be forever grateful for that. Yeah.
Oh, that's a sad story, isn't it? But it just goes to show how important it is to have access to people who can mentor us on these journeys, because they're so individual. And I think, you know, because they're so individual, you can't say, I think this is going to be the right decision for you. But if you feel like you've got nothing left to lose by going for it, then just go for it. Because I was at that point 13 and a half years ago. I just thought, well, I can't hear very well anymore. It's probably only going to get worse than this. So why not?
Absolutely. That nothing to lose. That nothing to lose is something that I hear all the time as well. Because I think there just comes a point where life becomes unmanageable.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I don't want to keep you for too long. It's Sunday. I just wanted to have a quick check-in with you, and it's lovely to see you. Can't wait to see you again. You have a lovely afternoon. All right, and it's lovely to see you. Thanks for being part of this.
No problem. You managed to kind of, you know, hammer me down. So yeah,
I did. Yeah, I was so insistent that you would be part of this. So it's because I know you well enough to know that you can bring a unique perspective to this episode. So I thank you very much. I will have a proper chat with you again very, very soon. All right.
Yeah, no problem. Take care. Have a good afternoon.
You too. Bye. Bye. Join us next time, where I will be speaking to my audiologist. Leah has been my audiologist for more than 20 years, and I'm really glad that she can be part of this series. Bye for now.